This is my presentation on energy production. Uh, why did I choose energy for my project? Well, we use it every day. It's all around us. We use it from anything from keeping our refrigerators running so we have food, to turning on our lights, to powering our cars and our trains and our planes to travel from place to place. We use it all the time, and there are many different forms of energy production, electricity production, anything from primary energy sources such as nuclear energy or oil or gas energy to solar or wind power. These all of these forms of energy have their own pros and cons. Some are better for the environment, some are easier to use, some we've been using for a long time, so a lot of our infrastructure is built up around it, and some are newer forms of energy that we haven't yet gotten into. Uh, this is a very important thing for anybody to look into, seeing as everybody in the entire world uses energy. Everything runs off of electricity nowadays. Um, I'm hoping that with my exploration into energy consumption and generation, I can find outliers and anomalies that either indicate problems to be fixed or strange trends that people can capitalize on. For this project, I picked two data sets. I initially only had one data set, and due to exploration of the data, I realized I needed a second one to further explore. So the first data set I picked up was on general power statistics and energy consumption across the world. It's a data set that contains both energy consumption data, be it how much coal generation they make, how much they consume, how much per capita they consume, but also very basic statistics for different countries, such as the population of countries and the GDP of countries. This data set, uh, the only quirk or thing you had to clean or deal with in regards to the raw data was that because this data set takes anything from the 1900s to modern day, you have to make sure you filter out a lot of those earlier years, seeing as they aren't actually used or have any meaningful data within them. The second data set is one that I discovered I needed after starting the project, and is on nuclear incidents and nuclear power problems, and is a very simplistic data set that simply has the name of an incident, however many people died directly to that incident, how many people died indirectly due to that incident, and what the threat level of that incident was on the whole. Through this project, I seek to learn if there's any relationships between different power sources that might be anomalous or harmful. I also would like to see what the overall just energy situation across the world looks like, and if there's anything that we should be concerned about, or anything we should be working towards fixing or improving. To start, I made this graph as my initial visualization. It is a chloropleth of the world. I've made this specific type of graph because, according to Wilk, a chloropleth is an amazing way to see how quantity varies across different locations. And as you can see with this, it works really well. You can tell that the entire world uses power, but it is more condensed heavily in certain countries, such as Norway. As you've noticed on this one and a few of my future graphs, you'll notice that I use a monochromatic color scheme. This is because it works really well with sequential data, according to Zafar. And as you can tell, it makes it very obvious which countries per capita use more energy. After looking at that and not noticing any major anomalies, I decided to continue my exploration into energy sources. And I was like, maybe renewable versus non renewable energy could find some interesting results. And so I made this bullet graph right here, which the length of the bar indicates how much primary energy consumption is used, so non renewable sources. And then the bars and gray and darker gray filling around the bars show how much renewable energy is actually used in relation to overall primary energy consumption, as well as the darker the bar, the more of other renewable energy is used, because this data set splits it into two different forms. For the purposes today, it's just this graph just very obviously tells us that we use a lot more non-renewable energy than we do renewable energy. So because of this, I decided to look further into their non-renewable primary energy sources. One of the cleaner forms of primary energy is nuclear energy. So I decided to look at how nuclear energy correlates to primary energy consumption. And as you can see on this graph, it's not the nuclear energy does not keep up with the does not overall prime energy consumption is always on the rise. However, nuclear energy consumption is not, which is slightly concerning because if we're going to be using primary energy sources, we want to be using some of the cleaner energy sources as opposed to oil and gas, which can be really harmful. This surprised me a lot because, according to Leppert and Kennedy at Pew Research, nuclear energy is approval for nuclear energy is on the rise. However, even they say that only 41% of people in the U.S. agree that the government should get directly involved with encouraging the production of nuclear power. Because of this, I decided to journey further into not just primary energy, but nuclear energy, and look at reasons that nuclear energy might scare people away. And the first thing that I thought of was people thinking it's dangerous. It's nuclear energy. When people think of nuclear energy, they think of nukes, they think of nuclear bombs, and that really scares people. So I looked at how dangerous is nuclear energy actually, which leads me to this graph. If you look at the top two of these graphs, it shows how many direct deaths nuclear energy has caused, and you will notice that it is shockingly low. For global nuclear energy deaths, the highest peak of any year is less than 40. This is in sharp contrast to oil and gas energy, which in between 2008 and 2017 alone, there were over 1,500 people that died in the U.S. to oil and gas drilling, according to an article on that very subject by Morris. Looking at this, however, looking at the bottom graph, it shows a lot more of why we have such fear about nuclear energy and why, as we're realizing that it's safer and safer and safer, and that we won't have another Chernobyl incident, which is this massive spike right here, which caused 4,000 indirect deaths due to like radiation. The other one over here is a fire, so the fire caused some indirect deaths. And you'll see that after this incident, we have not had nearly as many lethalities due to nuclear power as we have oil and gas, which explains why the approval for nuclear energy is slowly rising. However, as it knowing that something is safe is a lot harder than realizing that we've gotten over and it's safe now, and it's not just, oh no, I remember that horrible incident I learned in history class. This leads me to my summary. Energy is majorly important to our day-to-day life, and even though as a whole we are slowly coming to grips with using cleaner and safer energy sources, we still are using way more oil and gas for power and energy creation than we really should be in an ideal world. I hope that people can take these visualizations and use them to prove that we should be continuing to use nuclear power as the approval is increasing, and it is a very, very safe form of energy compared to other forms of primary energy, if not using renewable energy instead. These are my citations, and just for fun, we will go and look at, this is my dashboard for this project, and you will notice that if you increase over the time, we slowly started using more and more energy. As well as over here, you'll notice that China initially starts with a fair amount of energy usage, but as you see over time, it slowly starts overtaking Russia to be second in place with United States, which was another fun finding that I found over the course of exploring energy and nuclear energy specifically.